Welcome to the Bums Corner Coast to Coast podcast. The views and opinions expressed in this show are those of the hosts and are not those of Bums Corner Media Enterprises. This program contains strong language. Listener discretion is advised. Listen at your own risk. God, I hate this gig.
Talking to each other, and then I do this thing where I act like the person just walked in, and we go like, "Oh, hey,
yeah,
hi, listeners,
hey, hi, listener,
welcome,
sit down."
So this is, I want to say, the 44th episode of Bums Corner Coast to Coast.
That sounds right.
And this is a very, very special episode.
Half of 88.
That's true, because as you may notice, our friend Rick Tanski is here.
Hey.
But the bigger surprise is when I say here, I don't mean the internet. We're actually all around the same table.
In the same room, on the same table.
At the same time.
At the same time.
That's crazy.
So 44 episodes in, and this is the first time we've recorded in one room. So we're going to break our pattern here. And the reason we're all in the same room is our high school reunion is tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick blew in from Italy. Tom blew in from California. And we're hanging out here in Studio E, sober for the first time.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah. We had Bloody Mary earlier.
Yeah. I mean, we drank with breakfast.
That
but
doesn't count.
Yeah. They're on vacation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I only worked a half day.
That's right.
So we're in person. We're sober. So this will not go as well as it normally does.
Probably not.
No, we're not the well-oiled machine that we're used to.
No.
So we thought kind of an interesting concept would be to record half this episode before the reunion with sort of what we're anticipating, what we're looking forward to.
Right.
And then a couple of weeks from now, Tom and I will get back together and recap what actually happened. So for you, listener, no time will pass. But for us, several weeks will go by.
It's the magic of internet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a wonderful time to be alive, people.
It is. Or the worst time to be alive, depending on which part of the planet you're in.
Yeah. Best of times, worst of times.
So, Rick, you flew the furthest for this. What motivated you to come halfway across the planet to hang out with people?
Flew across an ocean
from high school.
You know, we are sort of making our summer excursion from Italy in August. The Italians are like, it's miserable here. Leave the country like the rest of us.
There you go.
And so this is part of our going to be, hopefully our new normal is to come during the summertime. And I said, hey, it's a perfect time to do the reunion. Send the missus on ahead to Colorado. And I said, I'm going to swing by Ohio and hang out with some friends. I've kind of got an orbit, I think, of this whole class reunion thing.
Yeah.
A lot of you who stayed and lived in Columbus for a period of time before you joined your adult lives or moved on to other things. I'm circling back after 25 years,
right,
having made it in the 10-year reunion, and so I guess part of what I just want to connect with some of the people that I haven't seen in a while.
Okay,
and this is a perfect time to do that, and I don't know, I hadn't been in Columbus, I don't know, in so long. I swear I'm in a foreign country.
Yeah.
Here.
Right.
It's funny, when we first got back to the States after living overseas for a while, the way I described it was it's familiar yet foreign. It's like, everything kind of has a very familiar look and feel. It's like, this is all recognizable, but it's just a little off because you've had that time and distance.
Right.
Which makes it... you feel like it's a little out of phase.
That's a good way to put it, out of phase.
Right. And as we've been driving around the past couple of days, we've been sort of going back to our old haunts to look around. Tom, you're here more often, but Rick, what's your impression of Columbus from when you last saw it 25 years ago?
And even 25 years ago, I didn't go anywhere except for like the reunion in and out. And so I'm thinking back to the high school days where we're driving around, and I you could tell me anywhere to go in Columbus, and I didn't need a freaking map to do
Right.
anything.
Right.
But now I gotta have a map to go anywhere. It's unrecognizable
Right.
to me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that I recognize High Street, and it's probably about all I could. But I don't know where I'm at. Having lived in Colorado for so long, the mountains were always to the west. I don't know what direction we're going here. I'm like, so yeah, I might as well be in a city that I haven't been in.
Really?
For a long
Okay.
time. It's that different. Even when we were driving around by some of the old places yesterday, I'm like, that's gone. That landmark that I would navigate by
Right.
doesn't exist. And we're driving along Henderson Road, and I'm like, I don't. There isn't a place that I recognize here.
Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you guys are like, oh, that's where the old so and so was, and that's where the old so and so was. So you kind of had this evolution of
Right.
of things that popped up or disappeared.
And that's one advantage, Tom, I think you've had is you've been here incrementally,
Yeah.
slightly more than Rick. So you got to see
Yeah.
at least part of the evolution. So it wasn't. I have this memory from 35 years ago, and now this conflicts with it. You got to
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, there's not an overlay of a 35 year
Right.
difference on top of my memory.
Yes.
I have seen little bits and pieces, but even like the handful of times I've been back to Columbus,
Right.
It's the airport. My mom's house.
Right.
Very little out and about.
Right.
So yeah, well, like when we got here and we were driving to your place after the airport when you picked me up, I was like, I have no idea where we are. Like I remember, you leave the airport terminal, you take the right exit, and you go down, and that's 670, and then I'm like, okay, I know we're on 670,
Right.
but nothing around me
Right.
looks remotely like it used to.
So Wednesday, after I picked him up, we had like a 6-hour window from when Tom landed to when Rick landed. So I took Tom to Olentangy River Brewing Company just so we could sit, get a bite to eat that's not airport Wendy's, and have some local beer.
I wish they had a Wendy's at the airport.
Yeah. So, and yeah, when you left where that is, there was nothing there, you know? There was the Josephinum,
Right?
and then nothing beyond
Yeah,
that.
beyond the Josephinum was nothing until you hit Mansfield.
Yeah, right. Like if you were on Orange Road, you were out of your element. You had no business being there unless you were going to somebody's house.
Yeah, or Cedar Point.
Yeah.
Right. Or to go to get the Bologna bar.
Oh yeah,
Go
in
to Waldo.
GNR Grill.
GNR Grill.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So and now I'll drive there because the gas is a little cheaper. The city has grown to a point where it's absorbed everything around it.
Yeah.
And it's like this big bulbous mass.
That seemed like such a trek.
Right?
Like, pack some
Oh, yeah,
water. We're going to go to Waldo
so
for bologna. And
far.
it was like, oh my God, let me call off work the next day because I don't know if we'll make it back in
Yes.
time.
And you had to buy like 20 sandwiches because you never knew when you were going to be back.
Yeah. Like now it's just there.
Now I'll go there for lunch. On
Yeah.
a work day.
Right.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, like I was saying, like, regardless of how the city's expanded, it still feels like everything is 25 minutes away.
Yes. I don't think we've made, of all the places we've gone to the city, and I live in the Polaris area, and these guys' hotel is on the west side in Hilliard. We haven't had more than a 20-minute drive anywhere.
Yeah.
So we went to Watterson, we went to Rockwell's house in Dublin, we came here. Everything is 18 to 20 minutes away from everything else.
It's so weird.
Yes, because we have freeway systems that aren't clogged up with cars day in and day out.
Huh.
Right?
Huh.
Go
Calling
figure.
out California right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Build the infrastructure.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the many failings of the
Right.
West?
So, Rick, you were looking to reconnect with people that you just haven't talked to at all? Or, what's your goal?
My goal is to reconnect. I'm curious where people have the trajectories of their lives, where they've gone. We've kind of even done some of our own reconnection here. I haven't had a chance to sit down and have a conversation with you guys in unknown number of
Right.
years, and married, kid, those kind of things. And I I'm just interested in kind of going, but I'm worried because I don't think I'm going to recognize many people.
That's one of my concerns as well.
I had a small friend group. I mean,
Right.
half a dozen, maybe 10. And then there were some people sort of tangentially on the outside that, were part
Right.
of the theater shows or choir or band or whatever.
So I had the same concern. And if you look behind Tom there on the counter, you'll see that I bought 250 name badges
Nice.
specifically for that
Very
purpose because I don't remember shit.
Yeah.
As we've been going through this process of getting the invitations out, I have this list of people that aren't on Facebook that don't have access to the event that I've been emailing in person. And I'll get back these names and I'll have to look up who is this person, and it's not even maiden name, married name. It's guys.
Right.
They're like, who the fuck is this clown? And I'll look them up like, oh, yes. Now I can make that connection. Now, will I make that connection tomorrow when I see them 35 years later?
Right.
Absolutely not.
I got to cram the yearbook before we go. And
Yeah.
cover up the 80s hairstyles and see if I can register this person today
Right.
without
Right.
the 80s hairstyles.
So we'll
Although
make
they're
you like a
coming
little
back.
cardboard dome to
Yeah.
hold over.
We just need to like the toilet paper roll so you can just get the circle and
pinpoint.
so
All right. So, Tom, what was your goal in coming out here?
oh geez, I don't think I really had one. True to form. Really, it was ultimately to see you guys.
Yes.
Dan, to reconnect with the folks I have not been in the same room with for a long time.
Okay.
Like we've talked to Dan on the show and Facebook, email, things like that. But yeah, actually to be in the same place with old great friends that you haven't been with in so long, that's huge. And then kind of just checking up and seeing, all right, well, where did this person end up?
Right.
Because you only get so much from Facebook.
Yes.
You get the profile. You get the deets, the
blurb.
The blurbs. Like, okay, I get your
Right.
But
They're not connected to the person, though.
No,
You know,
and that's what's weird. Like going to these reunions year over year over year, you get the blurb, the first 10 minutes. How you been? Marital status, number of children, occupation, where are you living now? Yeah. You'll get that. But one thing I noticed last night, we hooked up with Dan and my brother at the Forge Tavern. I want to plug them right now.
Give them
It's
a rec.
built on the bones of the old Polo's bar.
Were they successors, I understand.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what I thought was interesting, just sitting at the table listening, when you're emailing with somebody, when you're messaging and texting, there's a goal to that conversation. I have a question, you're going to answer it, and then it may go for a little bit, but then it peters out. But because there was no boundaries on the interactions,
Right.
we could just be stupid.
yeah,
We had license to just be dumb for a couple hours, and it was fluid. Like I haven't seen Dan, I want to say a year. You were at what, 35 years or close to high school or something like that, maybe?
Yeah.
It's been a few years since you've seen it, but we picked up like we had just seen each other yesterday,
like, Did you get the feel that we were back at the lunch table?
Yes.
In high school? I mean,
Yeah.
I totally, with beer?
Right?
I totally kind of had that vibe there for a minute. It kind of struck me, and I forget what point in the night it did, but it was just like, I kind of had that feel like, damn, where's Banks and his hostess Twink?
Right.
He should be showing up with where's Swanson? It just felt like it just felt very familiar and very just warm and cool.
Yep.
And that's strange for me because 1988, we graduated a week later.
You were
I'm moving
gone.
to Colorado,
Right.
and so my story ended, here.
Yeah.
For and like there's this now 35-year gap between the Rick Tanski of 1988 and the Rick Tanski of 2023, and like. Oh crap! I've lived an entire lifetime in there, and so has everybody else.
Right.
And like, of course we picked up at the lunch table because that was our last common interaction
Right,
together,
yeah.
right?
That's true.
Yeah. One thing I had a question for you, because like you moved out, we moved away. We kind of still had several, a decade or so of interaction with these guys from high school before we eventually kind of moved on and separated and spun into our own orbits. Any trepidation, or how are you feeling about joining sort of midstream in our world.
Yeah.
Having moved on a little bit without you.
Well, I think anybody who listens to this podcast knows that you guys have a shorthand that like you're on thinking each other's jokes. You're on the wavelength. You've got the common references, and that's besides high school, that's the decade plus that you've kind of just been interacting and working with, and it's that shared experience.
Right.
And I think for a lot of us, maybe after the married kid, tell me about your last 35 years, there's not a whole lot of shared experiences in there. And so you're like, please, alcohol, social lubricant, please.
Absolutely.
Because then you're like, look, I'm still a person, right? There's a whole bunch in there. We don't have to go back to the lunch table. That was certainly fun then, but there is, and I'm kind of looking forward to that too, like just discovering people, making refriending people in that way. But for me, it is a little bit of an outsider, even in our group,
right?
That I was an insider, whatever that means in this amoeba group that we
had.
I'm like, no, I'm just fine. I'm like, I didn't get that joke. I didn't get that. It was funny, but I didn't get it,
Yeah.
And so I don't know that there's going to be a whole lot of that because there are not a lot of people.
Right. And again, remember, like when you left with your family, there was no social media. The only way we could, and I'm using bunny ears, like keep in touch. We had to write letters back and forth.
Yes.
So you would get a letter.
I was too freaking lazy to do that.
And a month later, you would respond, and it wasn't, hey, this is happening. It was just bullshit of going back and forth. Like, I miss you guys and what's been going on and blah, blah, blah. Banks stole something, blah, 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 blah.
Again.
So I think it's easier now to, like you said, keep up on people. I know who's married and how many kids they have and where they're working. I don't care about that stuff. I wish that... And in 3M, Mead, I hope you guys are listening. You're not, but I wish you were. That when you sell these name tags, make an auxiliary one where it just says number of kids, 3, marital status. Like have it on the other chest,
right?
Where you can say, "Oh, I remember you, Mark, and now I don't need to talk to you."
Right?
Because your other chest shows me all the questions that I had for you.
Because I never talked to you in high school. By the
that's
way,
it.
We weren't friends.
Right.
We didn't have anything to do with each other, and there is that. I know there's going to be that weirdness. Like, hey, we've got one thing in common. We went to the same high school.
Yep.
We never had a single interaction.
And in previous reunions, I've had that too, where the person will come up and say like, "Well, did we have trig together?" Like, no. But you did push me into a locker, so wait, nice receding hairline, ass.
That's right.
How's your third wife?
Yes. Saw you lost a ball to cancer.
Right. When's your daughter get out of prison?
Again.
Yes, and back to the pole.
Woo! Get her glittery mac and cheese.
Fucking mac and cheese, man.
First inside joke reference.
Yeah, so
that one I get because I was there.
You were there.
Because you were there, yes. Yeah. And that's the thing. We hung out with Dan Rockwell for a couple hours last night, and
that was great.
You cannot just leave him in the periphery and let him go. Because even if you turn your head for 30 seconds and turn back, that's 9 conversations that you've missed. You have to keep him as a focal point. Otherwise, you're going to miss everything.
Yeah.
He is Willa Cather stream of consciousness all the way through.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just try and keep up with him.
Yes.
Totally. It's a force of nature.
Yes.
Awesome. He's fantastic. One of the things I think is going to be kind of cool, because like you mentioned, Rick, life is, for all of us, life has moved on, and to try to find, who amongst our old classmates who we may or may not have interacted with at all back then, what commonalities do we share now? Like for instance, you and I, you now live overseas. I used to live overseas. We now have that in common post high school.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
What are the sort of things like that? Like we could talk at length and have so far about the differences between living in the U.S. and living in Europe.
Yeah.
Rockwell lived in Japan for a while. He and I've discussed the differences between that, like just the oddities and the nuance of how to acclimate on both sides of the ocean. So I mean, that's one example of potentially shared experiences that we may discover with our old classmates that 35 years ago we had absolutely nothing in common with.
Yeah. Do you see yourself potentially not necessarily rekindling old friendships, but maybe creating new ones from, again, you walked up and down the same halls with these people for years and never interacted with them. Do you see maybe walking away from this relationship or this weekend with a new relationship?
I think that possibility strongly exists.
Yeah. Okay.
I think for especially those of us who've had kids, there's an automatic connection
right
in there.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're like, oh wow. I raised a kid who didn't go to jail, who hasn't committed a felony that he's been arrested for.
Yeah.
And
I like how you added that disclaimer. That was nice.
Yes. I'm also thankful that the internet did not exist as we know it when we were.
That's a common thread in this show.
We revisit that on the regular. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a consistent, grateful thank you.
Yeah.
So I think there'll be some of that too. It's just one of those things when you get people together and it's unscripted.
Yes,
that's the difficulty of messenger programs is it's transactional. You got to get that.
It's binary.
You let that conversation meander over in the back room of Nassie's, and next thing you know, you're like, oh my gosh, you have a so and so at a so and so, and like we're now instead of 6 degrees of separation, we're 2, 1, and I'm up for that. I think I lived the first part of my life, my professional life, with such furious intensity that I was just inoculating myself to like living in relationships and those kind of things. And now, and I can say this because we're half a century old, all of us, and more. Like I'm feeling the pressure of time. And I'm understanding how valuable those connections are.
And just again to rub it in, can you tell us how old you were when you retired?
Yeah, I had not yet turned 50.
Okay.
So I retired on July 1st at age 49, and then my 50th birthday was.
We are going to unplug Rick's mic now because I don't want to hear another fucking word out of him.
But 30 years in the education system will do that.
Dude, you earned your stripes.
30 years in education is like 60 years doing anything else.
Oh yeah.
I see you, Peggy, or no, not Peggy, Rachel, Fran.
Right.
Who else went out there in education? Yeah. Sainthood for a bunch of you, especially if you served middle schoolers.
Yeah.
That's a whole other.
And again, my sister-in-law is a kindergarten teacher, so I respect the hell out of her.
Herding kittens.
Angry kittens. Wet kittens.
Wet, venomous, rabid, feral kittens.
Yep. So, as somebody that stayed here in town, I guess my expectations are a little more tempered because I've watched this.
You've been to several. You've been to almost every one.
Yeah, I think I've been to every one of them. But what's interesting is to be able to pull back your view a little bit and look at it. And our 30th, which was 5 years ago, was the first one that didn't replicate our cafeteria. Like before that, 25 and younger.
They all showed up and clicked up.
Yep, and that's exactly what happened. We would meet at a bar that had like 8 tops in it, and boom, they replicated the cafeteria. All the same little cliques were hanging out together. Now, obviously, we'd get up and intermingle with those, but the attraction was there. Like, oh, this is our comfort zone.
Right.
So I think it took 30 years for us to realize none of us are that cool anymore.
Yeah.
And so it was this melting pot of. I think I spent a healthy portion of the night with one of the Boyles, just hanging out, drink after drink after drink. It wasn't like we were both going to the bathroom and had a conversation. We actually stopped in a corner and discussed things and pointed out, like, now who's that? And, did they date so-and-so? So we had an actual conversation where previous years, he would have been off at the castle, and I would have been down in the moat, and we never would have interacted before. So I think people are letting their guard down a lot more as we get older, because again, the rings of baldness have popped up, and the beer guts are there, and you're not driving the Porsche anymore because your knees are fucked up. So
There's no lumbar support.
right. And like you said, you're on wife 2 or 3 or 0.
Right.
So life has pounded it into you that you're not better than these people.
No.
Yeah.
Go have a beer with them.
Right. And I think, we get to a certain age where, as hard as it may be for some, like, the glory days, it's like, that was 35 years ago.
Right.
You're not who you were.
Yes. Nobody remembers
You're
you.
not who you thought you were back
Right.
then. You're nowhere near whatever you had in your head, your image at that point in time. And you've never been that. And I think over time people come to terms with that fact. Like,
Right.
I'm just Guy. I'm just
Right.
no better, no worse than anybody else. We're all just schmucks trying to get through.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no way 18-year-old me could have imagined 53-year-old me. Do
you think 18-year-old you would have liked 53-year-old you?
Yeah, I think on some respects, yes. I knew I wanted to be a teacher when by the time I graduated high school. Thank you, Mrs. Burke. Miss you. Wish I could have seen you one more time.
Right.
But and so accomplished that.
Right.
And if you're doing the math, you're like, how did Tanski retire at 50 and have 30 years in? Well, I was in college. I was a custodian for a public school system, and so those years count. And
Amazing.
So, yeah. And I didn't know that at the time. I'm freaking 20, 21,
right.
Working as a janitor just because I'm going to Colorado State. I need a job that I can do at night because I got to pay tuition. I got classes during the day. So I think so, yes. I think you have this, I don't know, arrogance at 18, you're going to be part of the man that we rebelled against, and
just a cog in the machine,
right? Yeah. And I fucking worked in human resources. I was the machine,
right?
I was the bureaucracy,
right? All the
while.
Strings,
and I think 18-year-old me would go, you what?
Yeah,
right.
You what? You did that?
Yep.
There's no way. There's no way I could have planned that path.
Right.
And so I'm really genuinely curious about how other people's paths have taken them. Never would have imagined ever Arnholt going into the military.
No.
Right? Yeah. Oh yeah.
Nope.
I'm like, if there's a guy who would buck a system,
right?
it's Tom Arnholt.
Right.
And now he's like, got my shit squared away, and
sometimes.
Well, but that was good for you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And probably in some respects, it saved your life.
Absolutely, have no doubt.
And I'm really interested in just seeing how those stories kind of come out naturally with the people.
What about you, Tom? Do you think 18-year-old you would like 53-year-old you?
Probably not, because kind of like what Rick said. I think 18-year-old me would be interested in the journey.
Yeah,
but not necessarily the destination that I've reached right now, because it does seem very he gets up, he goes to work, he's got his federal job working for the
Lives in
man.
California.
18-year-old me would probably think that was cool, because 18-year-old me was dumb. Oh, California is awesome. Yeah, but yeah, I think the 18-year-old me would see 53-year-old me working for the government,
right?
Would be,
you're the man.
Yeah, you work for the Death Star.
Yep.
You've joined the evil empire.
Yep.
That's what they called our administrative building, the Death Star.
The Death Star.
Nice.
But I think I would like to think that in my own way, I'm still trying to buck the system, but from inside.
Yeah. Which I did.
Whatever keeps you going, man.
No, because
no, it does. Yeah, that's the only way to do it.
The thing is, once you're in, you can. You think back to what 18, you put on the glasses of 18-year-old you and go, that's fucked up, that's fucked up, that's fucked up. Where do I start fixing this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so, in that respect, we're working for the man, but we're trying to maintain that shred of who we were.
Yes.
To bring that bit of rebellion into the empire.
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly.
If nothing else, make it better.
Yes.
You know.
Yep. And I fight that fight every day.
Yeah.
You know, like there are a lot of times during the work week that I want to slap somebody, but never as hard as when I hear, well, that's just the way we've always done it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, no,
make my eye
that's
twitch.
the wrong answer,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And again, I agree. I don't think 18-year-old me would like 53-year-old me working for the state government,
Yeah.
you know, in contracts.
Oh, all three
Like,
of us work for the government.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
like where's that great American novel that I smoked all that weed to write?
Right.
You know, what'd you do with that?
Where's the screenplay?
Old man.
Where's
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Where's the albums and
Yes.
songs? And
Where's your star on the Hollywood walk? So I don't think he would like the career path that I ended up taking, but I think he would have liked where I ended up. You know, independent. You know, I do whatever the hell I want, when I want, and I'll edit in the disclaimer later. But I can pretty much, you know, if I got a wild hair up my ass to go visit Tom, I'm there the next day.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And you're more than welcome whenever.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Same with me. It just requires a little more effort.
We're working towards that. Like, we'll wait. Once I saw you had the bidet in the new apartment, I'm like, all right. He bumped off the B list onto A.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That's a legal requirement, by the way.
And I love your country for that. Yes.
Yeah. If you have a bathroom in Italy, a bidet is required, or a bidet solution.
Right.
You know, like the screw-on ones.
Yeah, the little portable one, not portable, but you know, add-on like I have here.
Because I'm like, I don't want. By the way, I'm a bidet convert.
Yeah.
You know, all of you Americans who are scared of your intimate parts, the bidet makes your life different.
Yeah. Life changing.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Tom,
I've never experienced the bidet.
I'll give lessons.
Okay, that's a weird way to put it, but normally I don't like people using my bathroom because it's weird. But while you're here, give it a test drive.
All right.
It's life changing, and I think my brother put it best. He's like, if you hit that water right, you'll even knock one out of the chamber.
Yes, your brother would say that.
Yes. And it happens. You're like kind of scooting around, and then like, oh. You know, I didn't know that was behind my belly button because that's how far the water was shooting up. So when I installed that, the way my bathroom is laid out, my toilet faces a door, and the door opens into a walk-in closet that leads to my bedroom. Okay, so there's a direct path. I can look at my bed from the toilet if all the doors are open. So I hooked this thing up. I tested it, and it's working great. And there's a setting for cleaning. Like where you can clean the little door that hides the nozzles. And I want to know how it works. So I hold the door open and hit the cleaner. And it blasts a circle of water on the ceiling on the other side of my closet.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, if there's that much pressure in this thing, and it's like the super soakers that kids have now that are like that hold 6 gallons of water and hurt when they hit you. I'm like, if it can leave a stain that big on the wall, what's it doing to my poor little asshole?
Right.
You know?
Just wrecked him. Damn near killed him.
Wrecked him. But sidetracked. So, anyways, this is the first half of the show. You'll hear a slight break, and then when we come back, it'll be a couple weeks after the reunion. So we'll Wayne's World. So, final thoughts, Rick. Again, you came halfway across the planet for this.
Yeah, just connecting with people.
Right on.
I'm loving the relationships, new and old, those kind of things. So I'm up for it. Plus, it's always fun to hang around and drink with people who've shared some of the same trauma that you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that'll be the interesting thing I think that I'm looking to take away is hopefully, a lot of these folks are willing and able to discuss. We did have something in common in high school. We just didn't know it until later. And that is, we all had this shared experience that we survived and dealt with in our own way.
Right.
Are we, who's willing to talk about that?
Right.
Who's willing to raise their hand and go, yeah, that was some fucked up shit.
Right.
Come on, brother, let's take a beer. We lived,
I like it.
And I even think on this side as adults, part of the reason the cafeteria didn't replicate itself at the 30-year reunion was we're past that now. We could not get to this point in our lives without some serious fuck ups.
Right.
And so like everybody in that room knows you made some big blunders along the way, and like that's a shared experience. We just haven't discovered it yet.
True.
That's why I want it.
See, I'm kind of leaning towards going full Romeo and Michelle on this one and make up my entire history.
Oh my God.
But we'll see how that plays out. I mean, it seems like a great idea now. 3 beers in, my story will be shredded, and I'll forget parts of it and have to make it up on the fly.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Who did I lie to?
That's exactly
You got to keep it all straight.
I do not have the mental bandwidth to keep track of fucking phone numbers, let alone which bullshit lie I told that person over there.
Right? To the name and the face I barely remember from,
Yes,
like,
and again, then I need a third "Hello, my name is" sticker to say, like, invented Post-it note, so I know which story I told that person.
Here's my second $1 million idea of the week. For the mead and those people. In lieu of additional sticky name tags, just put a flipping QR code. Where you get the badge, you stick it on you, you load your QR code, you put in your details, save, and now anybody can walk up to you and go, "Oh, hey, Paul, beep. Got it. Hey, good seeing you, man." And that's it. You can just pull up your information on their phone based on the QR
reunion
code.
Could be over in like 20 minutes.
Yeah, this could be like speed dating.
Talk to you about.
Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know the story of how we ended up at this particular location for the reunion, Tom and I started like in, I want to say February, March timeframe.
I would say like March,
of trying to find out who was planning this stupid thing, just so people in his situation, Rick's, could get airline tickets and get hotels and line up babysitters and dog sitters and do I need somebody to get my mail? All of these things take time, and nobody was stepping up to plan it, so I got stuck with it. So I have an ulterior...
It's because you asked the question.
And that's
Twice.
exactly it. I blinked first, so I got stuck with it. So I guess an ulterior motive is I want to make sure that this is the best one we had so far, so I can say, fuck you guys. I'm doing them from now on, and everybody has to be happy about it.
Right?
Yes.
No bitching.
No bitching.
Vote with your feet. If you don't like it, stay home.
That's right. Vote with your feet. I like it. It saves so much on gloves that way.
Indeed.
All right, so this was part A. We'll take a short break as far as you're concerned, and we will be back with the second part later.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
So for you listeners, mere seconds have passed. However, in Bum's Corner world, it has been 2 weeks since we got together last.
Oh, so 14 days.
Yes. So part A of this episode was what we were looking forward to as the reunion came up. And now it has passed. We've had time to reflect on it. So part B is to look back and see how close we were to our and what we had anticipated it to be and just overall thoughts. So, Rick, you had to come the furthest, and you had some pretty lofty goals walking into this. So overall, what was your impression?
Rick, but I kudos to you, by the way, Ash, for putting together a great reunion. I was happy to see some of the people sort of outside of our immediate friend group congratulating you, telling you way to go. Unfortunately, that means your plan backfired, so you didn't fuck it up enough, which probably means you're on the hook for the next one.
That's fine.
So as long as you get the credit card from Fort Camp and there's some money in there, I'm like, you're the man. So I guess I would say that I found out I probably didn't come the furthest. I said on part A, which was just a few minutes ago, that I wanted to kind of, I don't know, build some relationships, connect with some people I hadn't connected in a while. And when we were chatting with one of our friends, found out that she's living in Germany right now. So my neighbor to the north, and found out that apparently Watterson offered Italian, and I'm like, wow. Not that I would have been interested in taking it then. So what I think I remember saying just not a few minutes ago is that just wanted to kind of connect with some people and build some relationships. And I think that happened.
Cool.
I was pleasantly surprised. I ended up personing the the name badge station, and so I said hi to a lot of people. They came in and they're like, "Oh, hi, Rick. How are you?"
That's hilarious. I had no idea.
No idea who you are. Yeah, and it's just that's kind of where I landed when we threw the name tags out there, and
I was super happy that both my Sharpies made it home safely too. So I guess in part thanks to you.
Oh, okay, all right. So
that's great. I never would have thought about manning. Or like, I'm sure you didn't think it wasn't planned, but manning the name tag badge to catch everybody that came in. Damn it, that's brilliant.
It is brilliant.
And then people are like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "I know because I haven't seen him in 35 years, but I saw him write their name."
Right.
And they were like, "I don't know you." And I'm like, "No,
I didn't recognize the face nor the name, but whatever."
Whatever. So, Tom, how close were you to your goals when we look back on this thing?
But pretty close, pretty spot on. I did not expect to land at that corner table for as long as I did.
Right.
Because I was going to make the rounds.
So you were a bum in a corner.
I was a bum in a corner.
Oh,
with yeah.
Wow.
But I did make the rounds. I think adequately enough. I'm happy with the socialization that I got out of it with folks that weren't in our immediate friend group. But what was really cool is with that corner table where Rick, you joined us later, were people that were associated, but not intimately. The people that we knew on the fringe, folks that from choir and band and theater and things
like work friends, but at school.
Yeah, close. In that moment, but not close throughout.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it was kind of cool to catch up with them. And yeah, that was really interesting. But I did make the rounds and caught up with several people that I think I spoke more to that evening than I did the 4 years at Watterson.
Yeah, I would say I had a similar experience too.
Really?
What about you, Ash? How about you?
Honestly, I made zero attempt to socialize. Rockwell sort of planted himself at a table. I went over to that table, and I don't think I ever left there. So, but I guess as we've had this time to think about it, I have access to all these people on a regular basis. If I wanted to go hang out with somebody, I could. So the impetus wasn't on me like it was on you guys. Like, oh, I have 4 hours to make a friend, and it's like speed dating, but with friends.
Yeah. Right.
So I hung out to talk to the Engelhoffs, which I do on a semi-monthly basis, anyways. What I enjoyed was watching you guys. I pulled back, not like making a fool of yourself, like I normally do, but it was fun to pull back and watch like the two of you and Fran specifically going out and socializing with everybody else. I loved seeing you guys laughing and having a good time and telling stories. That to me was so satisfying. So, and then, I have the soundtrack of Dan in my head next to me talking about things, which, by the way, I don't know if you ever followed up, but remember that material he was talking about coming out of South Korea?
LK 44 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's been like completely debunked by the science community since then. So hindsight's a bitch. But it was neat. Like the second Tom, when you walked into that corner table, I'm like, oh, Tom's 4 beers into the evening. It's time to be, social.
And that was the goal. That was the plan.
So it worked. But I don't know. It's again, I talked to a few people. And again, it was mostly about the planning and organizing and stuff. But I don't know, man. Like, I barely see the friends I have right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in that Pokemon mindset where I have to be friends with everybody in that room anymore. I used to be.
Yeah.
Shit, man. When I was a teenager, I would fucking put on blackface in there and dance a jig to make everybody laugh. But now it's just that's not a priority.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so again, you know, like, I see the people I see. Every once in a while I run into other people, but I was more interested in seeing everybody else have a good time. Again, because, like, we're the host nation.
Yeah.
If I wanted to hang out with Loxo, he lives, like, right down the street from me. So that could happen anytime. So I was more interested in how you guys were doing than myself. And don't get used to that. It'll probably never happen again where I put your feelings ahead of mine.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that you kind of camped out with Rockwell, and I tried to make it a point to orbit back around and check in, you know, with not check in with Dan, but just to kind of be around and see what what he was doing.
Yeah, that was good. Enjoyed seeing that group. Dan too. Haven't seen Dan in a long time. You know, initially when people got there, they didn't clump up with their friend groups right away.
Right.
So I think a lot of people did what we did, which is kind of what I intended to do, is, you know, check in and just sort of, hey, you know, where are you? What are you doing? What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And had a great time with that. And then, you know, 10 minutes later, everybody's doing their thing.
It's cafeteria tables.
Yes. Yep. Maybe it wasn't 10 minutes. Maybe it was 30 minutes. So,
yeah, but not totally. I mean, I remember, like, because when I got to that corner table, and I did some you know, so I did mingle about, you know, back and forth, and I would get kind of going back to that table. But by the time the second or third time I made my round, it was clear that, okay, yeah, this is I'm just gonna hang here and talk to these people.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
there were a few times where I think when I was chatting, people were like, okay, I think I hear my dog calling.
Me too. And Rick, did you get the feeling? Because I kind of did the same thing, and I don't know. Maybe I was just. I don't know what the reason was, but I walked away from a lot of those awkward conversations with, they don't get it, like the whole overseas thing,
Right.
The whole leaving Ohio, leaving Columbus. You know, they don't understand, like, the crazy, like, ridiculous, amazing journey.
Right.
And it's not that, like, actually, you're a perfect example. You've been there and you've been successful. You're happy and productive and wonderful, and you're great. And it's like you did everything you needed to do right where you are.
Right.
You know, it's just by happenstance that Rick and I ended up overseas for, you know, me for a minute and Rick right now.
Right.
But that's an unusual thing amongst most people to find themselves in the situation that I did and Rick does now.
And I was in an interesting. I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let me just finish up real quick. I thought I kind of got. It's hard not to say I lived in Germany and it not come off like a brag.
Right.
I'm not bragging about the fact that my wife used to drive a half hour to France to go buy applesauce. That's not a brag. That was just our life. Mm-hmm. We happened to be in the situation that we could do that.
Yeah, and it's fascinating stuff. I loved the time that the three of us had to talk before it. You know, the days where we had nothing to do but just sit around and bullshit. That, to me, was the true joy. But what I was going to say to your point, I was in a conversation with somebody, and we grew up in the same neighborhood, like that little Beachwold, Clintonville area. Mm-hmm. And he was rattling off all these people in our age group, like from years ahead and behind. He's like, so and so still lives there. So and so bought their mom and dad's house. So and so bought their mom and dad's house. So still lives there. And I always I give people shit from Upper Arlington and Hilliard because they never leave. They're just like that. And I had no idea that like the Beechwood Clintonville area was just as bad. But yes, there are absolute like second generation, third generation hillbillies that exist now because these guys won't get up and leave. So,
but I think even like Rick, you and I are odd on a global level because from what you've experienced, and correct me if I'm wrong, I mean, my experience in Germany is people like born, live, die in the same town.
Absolutely. Yep. Where I live, people have never been out. I mean, they're met people 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. They have literally not been, 5-10 miles, kilometers from their house. And certainly have never met an American before. And I was aware of that, both them leaving, but also the people in Columbus, because it became evident who was friends and continued their friendship. Mm-hmm. For me, my story in Columbus stopped 35 years ago when I left after graduation. And so there's this gap in there. And I was genuinely curious about what people were doing. And because, there's a little bit of the diversity of professions and all of that fun stuff. But I was also very aware if they asked me, where I was living and what I was doing now, that was going to be the end of the conversation. And I didn't want it to be that way because and I was like, I live in Italy. And they're like, where? And I'm like, just Little Italy? No, that's not.
So there was nothing for them to latch onto, and that commonality was gone. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and also it does sound a little bit like I totally ditched the U.S. and I'm living.
There's a pretension that is but we don't intend, but it's there.
Yeah, I just didn't want it to be
perceived, I should say.
Yeah. So more than that, I was generally very interested in kind of even people I knew by face or by name tag in the moment. Just what was going on in their lives, because I find other people's stories fascinating. Even the stories that show up on this austere podcast. Fascinating for a whole other reasons, but
we try. No, I guess I can't say we try and keep the names out of it. We don't. Like again, I think that should be motivation to listen. Like if I weren't on this podcast, I think I'd listen to it at double speed. Don't get me wrong. It's not that entertaining, but I'd listen just to make sure that my voice or my name didn't fall out of your mouths. So I could like course correct them next month and say, I'd like to come on and rebut that story you told about me fucking a donkey. It was a mule.
I think there are probably a small handful of people at the reunion that if we use their names right now, that might be for the first litigious act in Bum's Corner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If they ever listen to it, I'll 12 of them listen.
No, honestly, I highly doubt. Unless they're in Kiev, that fucker. He was busy for like a month. I think there's I look at our stats from a global perspective.
Yeah. And,
it's like Columbus, Ohio, Dublin, Ohio. There's some in California. Then out of nowhere, boom, Kiev popped up. And my assumption is it's one person that just sat there and listened to all of them over the course of several days because they spiked up, then they spiked back down again. So that poor bastard, maybe it is somebody from our class. Like, God damn it, I wish I could get a hold of these guys because they told that story so wrong or something.
So completely inaccurate.
Yeah. But overall, reunion-wise, I enjoyed myself. I had a good time. It was fun. Honestly, it was fun reconnecting with people, just setting it up. Not the event itself, but just making those connections and getting like the texts and the messages the day after, like, hey man, it was good seeing you last night, blah blah blah. But what's weird is I didn't get any of the we should hang outs, which typically that's how you end a conversation, like, oh,
Right.
We totally got to join a bowling league together and get tattoos of each other's faces on our asses. There was none of that. It was just like, hey, good seeing you. Off I go.
I got one of those. I got a we'll talk to you soon, talk to you later, sort of thing.
Right.
And it's really cool at a left field. The person that was there, I was hoping would be there, and it surpassed expectations. It was just I was excited that she was there, and like I had like little to no interaction in high school,
Right.
but it was just one of those people that like you just kind of like caught your eye, and not like oh I want to date her. It was just like this is an interesting human,
Right.
And to find out that 35 years later she's still an insanely interesting human was kind of cool. And so that was a neat sort of connection to make, and it was cool that she had followed up and was like, "Hey, it was great seeing you." I'm like, right back, or
Nice.
too. Talk to you later. So yeah, I guess there was that was like the coolest connection that I think will continue in some way, shape, or form. At whatever frequency. But yeah, I had not expected anything.
That's cool.
Hey, next time you're in town, like
Yeah.
next time I'm in town, just ping Ash. He knows where I'm at.
Yeah, that works. I did get one person a message and then said, like hoping to see you at the St. Mike's Festival. So that was kind of cool,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess I didn't like reconnect with anybody, but I just sort of reinforced the bonds that already existed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. In hindsight, do you think we should be involved with organizing the 40th?
Based on what you accomplished, Mike, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, if that's something you want to do, go ahead. But I don't know where I'll be. I don't know how much help I would be. I think that get the word out with trying to encourage people to if they're not on social media or whatever, and you've got friends.
That's hard. I was very shocked at the amount of people that have zero social media, and
See, I find that pleasantly surprising.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I guess the whole you're taking all of my personal information, blah 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 blah. But I mean, as far as events go, Facebook is like the way to invite people, to manage events. They're better than any app out on the street right now. So there's that. But yeah, getting those email lists together, fucking from the Waterson's alumni office, I will say this, garbage.
Pointless.
I pulled up the alumni website the day after our reunion, and they still had not posted our information.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and again, like when you got roped into this, and I was like, all right, man, it's you and me, whatever you need. And you didn't need a whole lot from me. I'm like, what can I do?
Hey,
I mean, I know
you found that shit. You found the alumni. You got the spreadsheet for me. Yeah. And I just took it and ran. Excel? I'm on it.
Ran is an understatement. You helmed that like a motherfucker.
Well, with more time, I think we could do a better job too. But we'll see.
I think also pinning down a date as early as possible.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it?
I also wouldn't mind reaching out to maybe 87, 89 and say, hey, we want to get a group together.
I'd say especially 87, just because of the photos I saw online. That was a very, very small reunion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sub 20 people, I'd say.
One of the things I would also, if it's up to us to do it, one of the other things I would like to do is early on, like, contact the people that we have information for that did not or could not attend the 35 and find out, like months and like 6 months early and say, hey, we're thinking about this.
I agree.
We missed you at the 35. What can we,
right? That's a great idea. That's a great idea. In fact,
one of the things that, like, Ash, what really struck me with your handling of this was when you said you were left out of so many things throughout high school that you wanted to make sure nobody got left out of this.
Yeah.
And that hit me like a ton of bricks, man. And I'm so behind that. And And I think
I'm a strong believer in that. Absolutely.
And you did an amazing job. I mean, so many people that were like, yeah, I've not been to any of these, or
right.
I went to the 10 and that was it.
Right.
Or I came because so-and-so asked me, or Mike asked me, or
Yeah, absolutely. I just found out about this because Mike sent me a text or an email, so like,
right.
Okay, there's a lot of folks like us that were fringe, that were other.
Absolutely.
And it was cool. And I think that's why I stuck at that other table, because I felt like those are the others like me.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. I think, starting months and months in advance to go, hey, we missed you at 35. What kept you? Is there a better date?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we were up against a lot with that game.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Billy Joel and flipping what's her tits was going to be playing it.
Oh, what's her tits? Stevie Nicks. But there was a concert I wanted to go to that night that was not Billy Joel, because I'm not a 70-year-old man from New York. Yes, there were the fair and whatever, the Irish festival.
Yeah.
The bombing of the Protestants or whatever they do there. I have no idea. So, yeah, and again, we were so behind the 8 ball this time that pushing it out to August was really our only option. So I think a different, having even a year ahead, like you said, maybe just send out just a burst and say, hey, we're thinking about this. What date should we avoid? And see if we can work backwards from there.
Yeah.
Or maybe I pissed off enough people that somebody else will take the mantle and say, you know what? Maybe I should speak up and or help organize it so I don't get left out this time.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to happen.
He who speaks first volunteers.
Yeah, it's human nature, but it is what it is. Now, one topic that I talked to Sean Williams about that night was the frequency. And he's like, his point was 5 years is too long, which I don't disagree with. And I like that idea about what I said to him was, let's hijack the 89 next year. Mm. But I don't think that's a solution that, we can continue on for years and years, just like fucking pirates of the reunions just going to different years and taking over.
We're to the class of 88 and this will be our reunion.
Avast ye underclassmen.
Just like the shoving the class of 61 out of the way from their Moose Lodge. Yeah. Greatest generation, my ass.
Right.
But so I don't think that's an answer long term. But other schools do that, like you said, Rick, where you have like little groups, like
they combine them. Yeah.
Late 80s, all get together and do it. And something that Hilliard did years ago, they've stopped since then, but they had this thing called First Friday, where every month the first Friday at some bar was a reunion for all classes. And that way, if you could make it, great. If you can't, there's one the following month. And you could hang out with people above and below and blah, blah, blah. It was really neat. The classes intermingled, and every month you go, it was like a different group of people, basically. So I've thought about that in the past for Watterson, but, man, it's just so much fucking work trying to keep that going.
I mean, you mentioned that your conversation with Sean, and my first thought was, what's stopping you?
Yeah,
Right?
Right.
Reality is, yeah.
All these
I mean,
people roughly live within commuting distance of Columbus. We have a website, or we have a Facebook presence.
yep, absolutely.
Do it.
Yeah,
But yeah, it would be cool
right.
if these folks got together more often. But I think it would. I don't know. I think those that want to are.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there are, like, I'll see them online, the groups of people that still get together. And again, that's cool. And, from people I've met through my career to say I'm in my 50s and can still call up 10 people I went to high school with and hang out on a Wednesday is unheard of. This that we have does not exist in the real world.
Which is, that's a really cool point, because I know that for a long time, we've been forever, as far as our group was concerned, what we have is what we thought was unprecedented.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting is from what you're saying now, Ish, is that it kind of expound. It's not just us; it's kind of our class. Is it? It's kind of. Is it that 3-year period? Like, I could hang out with anybody from 89, 90, 87.
Right.
Is it a Watterson oddity?
Like the shared trauma that we've talked about, like
Yeah.
when you and McGlissick were talking about your St. Andrews days, and you were describing obvious child abuse, but you didn't realize it. Maybe that's the cohesion that we all have, is that
Right.
shared trauma.
That inner Harlow monkey.
That's right. I still have the skull scar.
I've hugged the wireframe before, so I know
I
what you're
still
talking
cuddle with a throw rug.
The doctor said they can't take that wire out of my head. No.
I
Nice.
prefer the bottle over the teat. It just feels funny.
Suits me.
But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, because in my travels and time, it's saying that I can call 10 people right now.
Right. Yep.
From high school, or from grade school.
Grade school, right? Yeah.
Is completely unprecedented. Nobody understands that.
Right.
So I don't know if it's for the longest time I thought it was just our little band of misfits, but it seems like it's in one way, shape, or form it's bigger than just our
absolutely.
collective.
We weren't 100% unique coming out of that class, but
Yeah.
So overall, I had a great time. I'm so grateful that I got to spend the time beforehand and after with you guys. That to me was the best part of it, was just hanging out for those days, like getting ready for it and then recovering from it, and ironically, I don't know if you saw this, Tom, but somebody asked about that DeMarco sign, like if it was actually for sale.
Really?
Because I want to say like their brother met his wife there, so they'd be very interested in
I
buying
did see
it.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. 20 years ago, we'd have had that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My car would have been just torn up on the roof, like from each of us having a window down, holding this aluminum sign at 11:30 at night on a Sunday. Which, by the way, I get around you guys, and all of a sudden I'm 22 again. If we left the airport at 9 o'clock, 9:30 after dropping Rick off on a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
All I had to do was drive you to your mom's house. I'm like, we can't do that sober.
We can't just go. I can't go home sober. I wouldn't know what to do.
So we ended up.
That's not how we do it in that household.
Like the fourth place we tried that was still open, which that's a completely different story. But we ended up staying there until like 11:30, drinking 3 or 4 beers just to get Tom home.
Yeah.
So again, like if you had come to me in July, I'm like, hey, dude, there's going to be a Sunday coming up where you'll be in a bar at 11:30 at night. I would have laughed you off the stage. Like, that's not happening. And yet there we were, just happy as clamps.
Sure. But I knew you had Monday off, so it wasn't all that concerned.
Mm-hmm.
You're a good friend, Ash.
Oh, my God. Beyond.
People would do that.
Don't say that too loud. Everybody will expect the same treatment you guys got.
Well, and then these two, my flight was delayed, and these two hung out at the airport with me. And we should have recorded a few moments in the airport for.
No, we shouldn't have.
Oh, well, the guy who walked off and left his backpack with
that was amazing.
Yeah.
I had never seen that before. Yeah.
Cowboy hat dude.
Yeah. Honestly, I was very, very engaged in finding out how long before your body rejected the GD Ritzies.
Oh my gosh.
It's like a baboon heart. Like I was just waiting for a baboon heart to come leaping out of your chest.
37 minutes and my body rejected Ritzies.
Yeah. It fought a lot longer than that, but
oh my gosh.
You crawled up to that airport for
Jesus
hours.
When the plane pressurized, so did I.
So some poor sap in the Midwest got a big blue brick through his roof that night.
Yeah. Well, that was just day 4, day 5 of turning the biome in my gut over.
Oh yeah, man.
Let's sanitize it with this much alcohol.
Yep. I mean, all the drinking and the eating out that we did, man.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I took Monday off because all I did, I sat here and I did laundry, and I sweat a lot. Like all the
I think that's the margarita. I think that's the margarita.
That's it. Like, ooh. That I had 40 proof sweat coming out of my glands. Mm-hmm. So I needed that buffer day. So it was well planned on my part.
Yeah. Awesome. I can't thank you enough, Ash. I mean, really the highlight of the entire event was really honestly hanging out with you guys, with you two.
For sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Uber Ash.
Yeah, Uber Ash.
Uber Ash. It was funny, like when we first, Rick, when you first said you were coming and you were going to get a hotel, like I remember you're like, it's not weird that two grown men that haven't seen each other in 35 years are going to share a hotel room.
Not at all.
Not at all. No. Not at all. Not us.
A handful of people. I told them that Tom and I were sleeping together at a hotel.
Yeah.
And let me guess, nobody was shocked by this at all.
Not at all. They're like,
not at all.
Totally see that.
Not at all. No. Heck, in some quarters, I probably built my street cred, so thank you.
Right? Yeah. So who had 35 years on the chart?
Those two finally figured it out.
Right? Oh, shit. Oh, okay. So, because this is just half a show, we're actually kind of over on time a little bit. Yeah. So, Tom, final thoughts?
Real quick, I want to revisit a question we talked about regarding whether 18-year-old me would, I don't think, was it like or appreciate or whatever. How would 18-year-old me feel about where I am now?
Yeah.
I think I said that 18-year-old me would appreciate the journey, but probably wouldn't be too jazzed about where I am. But if I could edit that, I think 18-year-old me would be shocked as shit that I survived and that I'm here doing doing more than 18-year-old me ever expected.
Wow, look at you. I like that.
There's one. Second, again, thank you, Ash, for making this whole thing fucking happen. And the third, just really happy to have reconnected with all the people that I reconnected with and to seen, and to have seen all the people that I was able to see and talk to. Yeah. 5 stars. Would recommend.
Right
Absolutely.
on.
Yep.
Rick, what do you got?
Echo pretty much what Tom, especially about the 18-year-old part. I think my 18-year-old self would be like, "You did what?"
Right?
Did not see that coming.
Right?
Yeah.
So, also just sort of connecting, I gotta give some encouragement to our crazy hermit friend Rockwell. Like, Rockwell, get out. You got a lot to offer people out there in the world, and like, you spark ideas in other people. So if you listen to this double speed, Rockwell, leave the house more.
That's a good one.
There's
Engage with people.
seriously not online, like in person, and that was a fun thing. Like, this is fine now. When we recorded part 1, we were all around Mike's table. Now we're here in different rooms in different states. I'm still here in the States, and it's not the same. It's fun, but it's not the same. Sitting around those tables, clinking the glasses, having just that's fun, and I really appreciated that. So thanks for making that happen. Thanks for continuing to be the cohorts in crime that way. And we did get an updated picture of at least some of us at Bum's Corner, so that was a nice bookend to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I am socialized out after this whole thing, so I will not be leaving my house for another
recharge.
month. So yeah, my social batteries are drained completely, so I'll be recharging those
slowly for the next 5 years.
Yes, I'm going to disappear for a while. So, but it was neat to see everybody, and again, I absolutely loved hanging out with you guys. That was the highlight for me. Was just seeing everybody, and like you said, Rick, getting Dan out of the house. I think you performed a small miracle in making that happen too. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
that was a serious fucking achievement.
Yeah. So
highlights.
Wow. One small programming note. I would like to say goodnight to Emily. So we're going to use our quiet voices now. So
all right, Emily, we want to send you off with sweet dreams. They're made of this.
Who am I to disagree?
Travel the world.
All right, that's all you get. So next month we'll return to our regularly scheduled program of making fun of people. And whenever Jean-Paul is feeling better and up to it, we're going to talk about Short Circuit at some point, probably in the fall now, but we'll get there. And Tom and I have talked about taking this show to audio and video.
Dun, dun, dun.
Start working on that too, so you can watch it on YouTube and see our screens lock up every 15 minutes and talk through it. Yeah. So
oh my God, what kind of asshole says that? Well, now you can see.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, that's the guy.
That's
yes. So I'll have to clean my room between now and then, but we're working on that. So future programming.
I'm going to use one of those green screens so when I lean backwards, my head, my ears and my, you see it on TV when they do the, and so as I move around, I dissolve into the background because that's
you
cool.
Wear a green shirt while you do that.
I will go buy a chroma green shirt. In fact, I'll go buy a chroma green curtain and just wear it like a shroud, so it's just a head floating.
I like it.
In the library.
I mean, you're not taking away from the quality of the work by any means, so you do you.
Yeah, and people will know why I have a face for radio if I end up being like a guest on that.
Oh, you'll be back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though: you will succumb to our time zones. So,
I will.
You can get up in the middle of the night. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so you have to do this at 3:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it's 4:00, almost 4:00 there right now.
Yeah, it's hit us
It's
up
easy,
before.
whatever. Yeah,
Better than 8:00 here,
just
I
take a
guess.
nap.
Yeah, I'll get up early.
Yeah,
It's
there you
worth
go.
it.
Bloody
Bloody Marys.
Bloody Marys,
Mary.
breakfast champions. All right, cats and kittens. Well, it's time to shut this bitch down, and we will see you in about a month or so.
See you on the flip top.
Thanks all. See you.
Ciao.